Good morning and welcome to the second part of the build. Now, as you saw in the first video, we managed to do quite a lot, but still we have to build a stove that's gonna create smoke, both enabling us to do the hot smoking and the cold smoking as well for different types of products. So this is what we're gonna do in this video, show you how I scavenged and made sure that I spent the least amount of money on the stove itself, and how we're going to protect the wood that the smokehouse is made out of. Going with the DIYing and repurposing and recycling theme, a couple of days ago I found this feta cheese can in the rubbish area. You can say I've manifested it and just took it home, washed it really well because it was stinky, and just looked at it on how I can make it into the stove that I need it to be for the smokehouse. The first part of this transformation had to be done at home because I don't have electricity at the garden and didn't really have any tools to cut through metal. So even if the lighting in the flat, as the flat is in refurbishment now, is not the best, it's a good sacrifice. For this part of the project I had to use a blunt knife just to get an incision into the metal siding that I needed to cut, and then a jigsaw to make the main cuts, and sandpaper, to be specific, 80 grit and 220 grit to make the edges safe. I didn't use gloves, but you guys use gloves. Safety first. I just didn't have any because they're all at the garden at the moment. So pretty simple, just had to cut 4 sides, and that's going to be the door. And for the next stage of the transformation, we're going to have to go to the garden, and that's where we're going to transform that feta cheese can into a wood burning stove. Finally got to the second stage of the stove for the smoker, and for that, basically this tiny piece of metal that I cut off will become a door with some hinges, and I decided to go with rivets. This is a riveter. All I need to do now is mark all the holes and where they need to be driven. I got a drill here with the metal bit, draw all the holes, and then especially on the door, once the door is done, I'll put the rivets in to kind of have a piece of the puzzle, and then use the riveter on the other ones. Hopefully this is gonna work. Let's see. That's good. I don't know much about this. Just like everything else that I know, I learned from the internet. So this riveter comes with different holes, and to identify which one I need for today, I just need to fit this long pointy part of the rivet inside. See, this is too big, this is too small, this is way too big. So I got the right one in, and to use it I need to align my hinge here with the hole that I just drilled. Okay, I'll do the middle one so I can organize the holes after that. And you take your rivet gun or riveter, put this rivet in, just open it a bit. I want to put the rivet all the way in like this, and then this nipple looking part is the ugly part, the one that you don't want to see, from what I learned. What you're gonna see is this, I don't know, it's like a sword, yeah? So it's the part of the sword that's closest to your hand. So you want to put the riveter in with this flat part, with the UFO shaped part in the front of the door, or the part that you want to be seen. Okay. Not sure if I'm going to be able to film this so that you can see it very well, but hey, I'll try. So now, as you can see, the nipple part of the rivet is on the inside, which is the part that I'm not going to want to see. And now you just crank it. Apparently you need to crank it a couple of times until it's gonna release and suck in the rivet. Yeah, so that's one, and it mushroomed a bit. That's two. Mushroomed a bit more. That was intense. And now we have a rivet in. The rivet looks nice and sexy. The ugly mushroom part is on the inside where nobody's gonna see it. And apparently that's how you use rivets and a rivet gun. Not sure what happens with the rivet inside. Does it just get pushed out? Yeah, it just gets pushed out. That's what's left from the rivet after you use it. So that's what I'm gonna be doing. And basically that's the door. Just be careful how you put the hinges. Make sure the door would open and close the way you want it. Now all we have to do is just repeat the process. Measure where the holes are, drill the holes, rivet, and then we'll take it from there. And this is basically it in its, like, you know, basic phase. I'm gonna have like a container here where I'm gonna make the fire. The smoke is gonna go up. Door is gonna open and close. Now I need to find a way to make this side more accessible. Maybe like if I do this, because this door doesn't need to go in, but it needs to close. This is gonna help. A bit better. So I can do actually this really quick now. It's basically pushing these two sides a bit on the interior, so I have a smoother transition. I found these two components. They're rusted, so I don't have grease or Vaseline, but I have some vegetable oil. So I'm gonna oil it or grease it up a bit, and I'm gonna make myself a handle, like very basic handle. Doesn't need to go all the way, just a tiny bit, so I can, you know, pull and push the door without any issues or burning myself or something like that. Okay, where do I want it? Somewhere here up. Yes, victory. Okay, this one doesn't need to go all the way in. Now I have a handle, a very primitive one, but it works. We're almost there, so stick with me. The last thing that I need to do is to use this kind of saw. Not really sure the name of it, but basically it's gonna cut this circle. Yes, kill the circular pattern here, so that I can fit either this pipe or this pipe. This pipe is gonna be the short one for hot smoking. The other one is a 3-meter opening, you know, accordion like pipe that's gonna allow me to do cold smoking. So it's a very good investment. This set of circular drills, we used it a couple of times already, and we find it very, 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 very useful. After trying for about half an hour and almost breaking my drill to make a hole here with that, you know, circular saw, I gave up, because the conclusion is, if you're gonna buy tools, buy the good tools, not the shitty ones. So in the end, I used a pair of this, you know, metal shears. I cut as a circular hole as I could, and this should be good enough because I did mark it before. Just be very careful when doing this. Make sure you wear all kind of layers of gloves. Maybe you have better tools than me, hopefully you do. If not, this set of metal shears should do it. Just be very careful. This edge is as sharp as the side. We did it in the end, but it took me about an hour and a half just to do one hole. We scoured the internet how we can do this so it looks good and it offers the protection that we need. And after a bit of homework, we kind of decided that we're going to do Shutsugiban. What is Shutsugiban? Basically, it's a Japanese technique of protecting the wood by burning it. After you burn it like that, then you should coat it in linseed oil. Traditionally, linseed oil was used. We just burn the wood as much as we thought is beautiful, as much as we thought the grain would pop out. And when we were happy with a couple of tests, we decided that that's enough. Then we used a metal brush and removed as much as possible the soot. We didn't really go with an oil. We actually went with an outdoor finish because that's what we had. And again, you know, everything is on a budget. So we wanted to make sure that we don't go crazy. It's beautiful. It looks nice. It will be protected from the element and is the best that we could do. So here you go. Now, when talking about the Shutsugiban technique, there is so much to cover, and we use this not because we know a lot about it, but because we loved how it looked like and because it did what we needed it to do. But if you're looking at this video for how to Shutsugiban, this is not this is not it, because we used parts, segments of it. But there is a lot of information out there. But being such a, well, basically being a form of art, I cannot condense the information in a couple of minutes. So if you like what you're going to see today here, then maybe look into it. And after that, let me know in the comments, what do you like more? Do you like what we did, a more light burn where the grain pops out and you can see different shades? Or do you like where you do the deep burning, you get the scales and you get those, you know, glistening green lights and shades, and like there's beauty in I think both ways. But I'm interested to know, like, what do you like most and why? The moment for the great unveiling is here. I'm going to show you some of the small things that we had to handmade in order for this setup to work. So these pieces of wood that will actually hold the meat, we cut it ourselves from leftover material that we had here on the garden. We bought the hooks because, you know, it is what it is, but we had to make this by hand, which was very easy, using the same metal shears that I used to make the hole here in the stove. And the point of this, you know, zigzag of metal is to diffuse the smoke evenly in the smokehouse. I aim to, you know, smoke different types of meat and multiple products at the same time. Therefore, I need the smoke to go everywhere instead of just one, you know, consistent stream of smoke in the middle. So I've seen other people using this as a diffuser, so I just made one myself from the piece of metal that we have over there from the roofing. Apart from this, the other thing that we did here, learning from our mistake, is buying this metal sleeve, which is basically a piece of metal that you can buy in any hardware shop that fits inside of the hole that we made here, like a glove on top of the pipe, be it this pipe for the hot smoking setup or the flexible pipe for the cold smoking setup. Why we did this is because before we show it to you, I did a test. I smoked some meat and I didn't keep an eye on the fire. I put a lot of wood inside and that created a lot of heat and a lot of flames, and this middle part actually burned. So I caught it in time before the whole thing burned up, and I had to replace it and come up with a smarter method of protecting the wood, because normally when you buy a smokehouse similar to this whole bottom part is made out of metal, because duh. But we went with a different approach. So this sleeve that cost like $2 or something like that is gonna protect it a bit, but you need to really manage the fire. You cannot just go away for half an hour and just fill up the stove. That's kind of the thing that we had to redesign or think again about. Lastly, for the hot smoking, we had to secure a bit the main pipe that brings the smoke up, because being a modular design and transforming it from hot to cold smoking, this pipe needs to come out from the stove. That means that it's not very stable here underneath at the hole that I made. So every time you used to either come too much up or either fall on the inside. So I just made 2 holes here, and again used a piece of like super heavy duty wire that we had here. Just cut it with the metal shears again, and this is basically I don't know, a metal dowel that keeps things in place. So the DIY stove with the metal pipe, the metal sleeve, the piece of heavy duty wire, and this diffuser is what is gonna help us make this smokehouse into a hot smokehouse. Again, I want to stress this as much as possible. You cannot leave this stove unattended. It will burn the inside and the whole thing. So be very careful if you want to replicate what we have done here. People who do hot smoking, they use a drum like that. And though I will still do hot smoking from time to time when I really need it, the main use of this smokehouse will be for cold smoking, because you can do all kind of things, from cheese and fruits and fish and poultry. This is the desired setup. This is what we wanted from the beginning. So stove is going to sit there somewhere on some thermal stones. This long pipe, you can actually again buy them from any hardware shop or store. And the system is very similar. Yeah, this is still, we're gonna still have to use the diffuser, and I'm still using this rod to keep flexible pipe inside, because the same thing happens, it just falls off. This sleeve is a tiny bit larger than this and the pipe that was there before for the hot smoking. So this is a really good thing. There's no pressure, there's no weight on the pipe itself when you're using it or otherwise. So if you find yourself a definitive place for it, like for now we have here, you shouldn't mess with this too much, because it is sensitive. It's like very thin aluminum. So learn from our mistake if this is something that you want to build for yourself. And just as proof that this smoker works, especially the cold smoking, we made some ribs and some bacon just as part of the initial test, and the hot smoking didn't work and it burned the bottom board down, but then we fixed it and we used the cold smoking, and hopefully it's going to be pleasing. So that's it for this project. I hope it was at least funny for you guys. But you have no idea how happy I am that finally I have this smokehouse and I can smoke all the kind of meats that I always wanted to, because though I grew up with this kind of stuff and my family always smoked meats and fruit, I'd never had the opportunity to do it myself. So now finally, as an old man, I can do it, and I think it's going to be amazing and fantastic and delicious. And if you're curious about those recipes, you know, don't go too far away, because I'm going to start smoking, especially in the beginning, poultry, because that's one of my favorite things. But then I want to share with you all the things that I know about smoking and curing and preserving meat in the old way, but with a modern twist, because, you know, we live in the times that we live now. So see you soon.